My name's Robert McCafferty, live in the village of Wanlockhead, and I'm a gold panner, working with the Museum of Lead Mining, Hidden Treasures in the village. And I've been gold panning now for about 15 years, and gold pan in the village only, as I'm a resident. And the reason for that is that there's plenty of gold up in this area. It doesn't matter what water courses you go to, whether it's down the Minnock or in the village itself, you're almost sure to find some gold flakes, and if you're lucky enough you'll get yourself some big nuggets as well. So it's a good hobby, sore in the back I must admit, but not my day job, but a good hobby, and hopefully I will continue to find some gold as I have in the past.
Who am I? I'm a native of Wanlockhead. I'm born in the mid-30s and went to school just as the war started, up in the school up by, and lived during that wartime period up till 45, when my parents moved from Wanlockhead to Glasgow. I took up the offer of an engineering apprenticeship at Rolls-Royce and ended up at Rolls-Royce 37 years later and came back to Wanlockhead. Meantime, I've been back and forwards over the years. We bought my folks bought a house up here, a holiday cottage, back in the 50s, late 50s, and we came back. I was back almost every weekend. And we spent our holidays here. So when the time came to retire from industry, I was the key to doing that was to have a house up here in Wanlockhead. I could sell up and retire back to Wanlockhead. I then became more interested in the signs of mining and the industry that my parents, my father and my grandfather had served their time in Wanlockhead, and became involved in the museum, initially as a trustee, and then at one stage I was actually the chairman of the trust. I've had quite an exciting retiral, being involved in the museum and seeing it grow, and quite frankly I believe that the survival of the village depended on the success of the museum. We have got an awful lot to thank the founder of the museum, Godfrey Downslow. So it was his interest in mining that brought him to Wanlockhead from Nottingham to recruit miners from Sankirk and Kirkconnell, to take them back down to employ them in Nottingham. He got interested in the lead mining history up here, and when he retired he came up and started the museum. The museum was started by a £10 donation from the village council to the trust. They didn't buy actually, they got a loan of a cottage and formed a small museum just in the summer months, or in fact just the holiday weeks up here. It started by photographs and artefacts and collections, all done voluntary, and then just at the time I retired, the trust managed to get funding to employ a full-time curator. When would that be? That would be 89, 90, and she was very successful and got the funding to buy the present site and extend it. There was a figure of something like, I think it was something about £750,000 involved in building the extension. Subsequent to that, there was funding. She managed to get funding of £200,000 to restore the library. The underground mine was created, was opened up, and the museum has struggled ever since. We're still here. It needs subsidy, and so far we've managed to get funding from the council, and all success to it, because I think it's a great asset. It employs lots of people during the summer, villagers, and attracts visitors and business to the village.
Right, I'm David Duncan. I've been in the village here for 23 years. Been working in the museum for 22. Before that, I did 10 years in the Air Force, 26 years working with British Telecom. Took early retirement, sold my house just outside Edinburgh, bought a wee cottage up here, and been working in the museum, as I say, we've come up for 22 years now. This will be my last year. The village itself, history goes back in the village way back to Roman times, although we can't actually prove that the Romans were mining lead here. But the first recorded mine we had way back in 1239, and that was the monks from New Battle Abbey. They were mining lead here for over 100 years. And mining went on right up until 1956, when the last mine closed. There was a total of 47 lead mines, 2 copper mines and 2 gold mines, all within 5 miles of the village. And out of these 47 lead mines, 23 of them go below sea level. And that's pretty deep. We're 1,500 feet above sea level at the moment. Lead was very valuable in the old days. It was exported all over the world. Most of it went to the continent, Holland and Belgium in particular. In the early days, the Dutch used a small amount of lead in the pottery trade for glazing. And in Belgium, in the early days, there was 4 massive ammunition factories. All ammunition at that time was cannonballs and lead shot. We've had recent discoveries of lead, and most recently a lead ingot was found in a French warship that sunk off the south coast of South Africa. They found, probably used for ballast, but they found the name Wanlockhead on the side of the ingot, and on the end was RC, which was the name for Ronald Crawford, who was the mine manager here from 1755 to 1777. So how it came to be on that French boat, we don't know. We're in negotiations now with a museum in South Africa trying to get it returned to where it was made. But the village itself now, it's a very small place. There's only about 160 people who live here in the village, and we try to help each other. The museum itself, that brought a lot of life to the village. It opened in 1974 with the library, which is the second oldest subscription library in Europe, and the wee display in a glass case in the middle of the library, and that was a museum. Since then, we've bought 2 cottages. We've done them out, 3 cottages made into 3. One laid out as it would have been in 1750, the next one in 1850, and the third one 1910, to see how the miners lived in 3 different centuries and how their life improved. The library itself, it's quite a few awards. It's listed as one of the places of national interest to Scotland. The number of books we have in there. Books dating back to 1616, the latest one's about 1940. And very unusual books in there as well. One book there, no other library in the world has got it. It's completely handwritten. History of the 2 villages, written by the local minister in 1862. The rest of well, I'm employed here as a guide. I've been doing, as I said, for 20 odd years. We take people into an old working lead mine. It was a working lead mine for 150 years, from 1710 to 1860. We don't go the full length of the mine, which goes almost half a mile through the hill. We take them 150 yards, and that's far enough to explain how the work was done. It's a great job. You meet some wonderful people. They come from all over the world here. But we've been struggling to keep the museum going for years now. But we will survive. A dedicated staff, they're all keen on the job. And we're looking forward to the future.